They called it the impossible job. Personal assistant to Do Hyun-jae, the paralyzed heir to Seoul's most powerful conglomerate. A man so difficult that assistants fled his mansion in tears before their first day ended. Some lasted hours, one lasted only 90 minutes, and the record holder managed 3 days before disappearing without notice. The agencies whispered warnings. The staff placed bets on resignation times. The media called him the Mafia boss of Seoul, a man whose cold reputation matched his impossible standards. But Halima Dlamini wasn't listening to warnings. She was listening to the number on her bank statement, the one that said she had 5 days before everything collapsed. She was thinking about her 7-year-old daughter's school fees, the hospital bills, the mounting debts that kept her awake at night. So when they told her nobody lasted a day working for Do Hyun-jae, she heard something different. She heard an opportunity that nobody else wanted, which meant maybe, just maybe, it was hers to take. She had no idea she was walking into a war, and she definitely had no idea she was about to fall in love. The assistant lasted 4 hours. Not even a full day. Just 4 hours before she ran out of Do Hyun-jae's mansion, with tears streaming down her face, her resignation already typed on her phone, and sent before she even reached her car. That made 12 assistants in 6 months. The agency stopped sending their best candidates after the 7th one quit. Now they just sent whoever was desperate enough to try. "He's impossible," the woman sobbed into her phone as she waited for her taxi. "He doesn't need an assistant. He needs a miracle." Inside the mansion, Hyun-jae sat in his wheelchair by the window, watching her leave. His face showed nothing. No anger, no disappointment, nothing at all. His secretary, Mr. Kang, cleared his throat. "Sir, the agency says they're running out of candidates." "Then find a new agency." "We've tried 6 agencies. They're all saying the same thing. Your reputation, it's becoming a problem." Hyun-jae turned his wheelchair around slowly. "My reputation was a problem long before the accident, Kang. This changes nothing." "With respect, sir, it changes everything. You need help. The board meeting is in 3 weeks, and your uncle is already spreading rumors that you're unfit to lead. If you show up without proper support, without someone who can prove you're managing your condition well, I don't need anyone to prove anything. The board needs to see it, sir. Perception matters." Hyun-jae's jaw tightened. He hated that Kang was right. 6 months ago, before the accident, he could have walked into that boardroom and silenced every doubt with just his presence. Now, everything was different. The whispers followed him everywhere. Pitying looks, concerned voices, relatives suddenly very interested in helping him manage his responsibilities. He wasn't stupid. He knew what they really wanted. "Find someone," he said finally. "I don't care who. Just find someone who won't quit before lunch." Across the city, Halima Dlamini was calculating how many hours she had left before everything fell apart. Rent was due in 5 days. Her daughter's school fees were already 2 weeks late. The hospital still wanted payment for last month's emergency visit, when Zuri had that bad fever, and her phone kept buzzing with payment reminders that she kept dismissing because looking at the numbers made her chest tight. She stood outside the convenience store where she worked nights, checking her schedule on her cracked phone screen. Morning shift at the coffee shop, afternoon cleaning offices, night shift here. Sleep somewhere in between, though she couldn't remember the last time she actually got more than 4 hours. "Mama." She turned to see Zuri running toward her, backpack bouncing. Her neighbor Mrs. Park followed more slowly, smiling. "Sorry, I know you have work," Mrs. Park said, "but Zuri wanted to see you before your shift." Halima knelt down, hugging her daughter tight. 7 years old and already too smart for her own good, Zuri knew they were struggling, even though Halima tried to hide it. "Did you eat?" Halima asked. Mrs. Park made kimchi fried rice. "Mama, when will you eat dinner with me again?" The question hit harder than it should. "Soon, baby. Very soon." It was a lie. They both knew it. Mrs. Park pulled her aside, while Zuri played with a stray cat near the store entrance. "Halima, I heard about a job. My friend works at an employment agency. They're looking for a live-in assistant for some wealthy family. The pay is really good." "Live-in? I can't leave Zuri. The salary is enough to hire proper childcare, more than what you make in all 3 jobs combined." Mrs. Park lowered her voice. "I know you don't like accepting help, but just take the interview. What's the harm?" Halima wanted to say no. She'd learned not to trust opportunities that sounded too good. Life didn't hand out favors, especially not to single mothers struggling to stay afloat in a country that wasn't theirs. But then her phone buzzed again. Another payment reminder. What's the job exactly? Personal assistant to some businessman. He's had trouble keeping staff, but the agency is desperate to fill the position. They're offering a signing bonus, just for staying 1 month. 1 month. Halima could pay off half her debts with 1 month's salary. Give me the agency's number. If you're enjoying this story so far, I'd love to hear from you in the comments. Tell me, have you ever taken a job you weren't sure about just because you needed it? Drop a comment and let me know. And stick around, because this story is about to get very interesting. The agency interview was short. The woman behind the desk looked tired, like she'd had this conversation too many times. I'll be honest with you, Miss Dlamini. This position has high turnover. Very high. How high? 12 assistants in 6 months. Halima blinked. That's 2 assistants every month. Yes, the client is demanding. The work environment is stressful. There are long hours, strict rules, and the client has a difficult personality. What kind of difficult? The woman hesitated. He's very private, very particular about how things are done. He doesn't tolerate mistakes, and there's significant media attention around him, which some people find overwhelming. Media attention? Do you follow business news? Not really. The client is Do Hyunjae. He's the heir to Daehan Group. Halima had heard the name before, mostly from news headlines she caught while cleaning office buildings. Something about a car accident months ago. The newspapers called him the Mafia boss of Seoul, though she never understood why. He was in an accident, the woman continued. He uses a wheelchair now. The position involves personal assistance with his daily schedule, managing his household, and supporting his rehabilitation routine. And 12 people quit because of this? The job is more complicated than it sounds, but the salary is substantial, and there's a signing bonus if you complete 1 month. Are you interested? Halima thought about Zuri's school fees. The mounting debts, the exhaustion of working 3 jobs and still falling behind. When can I start? The mansion was huge, but Halima had cleaned enough wealthy homes not to be impressed by size. She noticed other things instead. The ramp installed at the entrance, new enough that the metal still gleamed, the way all the furniture was arranged with extra space between pieces, the complete absence of stairs in the main living area. A man in his 50s met her at the door. Ms. Dlamini, I'm Secretary Kang. Mr. Du is waiting in his office. They walked through hallways that smelled like expensive cleaning products and fresh flowers. Everything was perfect, controlled, sterile, like a hospital pretending to be a home. Kang stopped outside a closed door. A word of advice. Mr. Du values directness. Don't try to impress him, don't pity him, and don't waste his time. Answer his questions honestly, and you'll be fine. And if I'm not fine, then you'll quit like everyone else. Kang knocked twice and opened the door. The office was large, organized, and cold, like everything else in this house. Behind a dark wooden desk sat Do Hyunjae in his wheelchair, reading something on his tablet. He didn't look up when she entered. Halima stood there, waiting. 10 seconds passed. 20, 30. Mr. Du, this is Halima Dlamini, Kang said finally, the candidate for the assistant position. Hyunjae set down his tablet and looked at her. His face was exactly what she expected from the news photos. Sharp features, cold eyes, the kind of expression that made people nervous. He studied her the way someone might study an object they were considering purchasing. You're aware, 12 people quit this position in the last 6 months? He asked. Yes? And you think you'll be different? I don't know. I haven't started yet. His eyebrow raised slightly. The agency explained the requirements? Yes. Long hours, strict schedule, complete discretion about everything you see or hear in this house. I don't tolerate gossip, mistakes, or excuses. I don't need sympathy or friendship. I need competent assistance. Can you provide that? Halima met his eyes steadily. Can I ask you something first? Kang made a small noise, like he was trying not to gasp. Hyunjae leaned back slightly. Go ahead. Why did the others really quit? Was it the hours, the rules, or something else? Why does it matter? Because if the job is impossible, I'd rather know now than waste both our time." For the first time, something shifted in Hyunjae's expression. Not quite a smile, but close. They quit because they couldn't handle the pressure. Media attention, family politics, public scrutiny. Working for me means accepting that your life will be examined, criticized, and complicated. Most people decide it's not worth the salary. And what do you think? I think everyone has a breaking point. I'm just very efficient at finding it. Halima considered this. I need this job. I won't pretend I'm here because I want to help you, or because I find your situation inspiring. I need the money, and you need an assistant who won't quit. That seems like a fair exchange. The silence that followed felt heavy. Then Hyunjae turned to Kang. She starts tomorrow. Sir, don't you want to ask more questions? Check her references. Tomorrow, 6 in the morning. Don't be late. Hyunjae picked up his tablet again, clearly dismissing them both. Halima walked out, her heart pounding. She'd just committed to living in this cold mansion, working for a man who went through employees like tissue paper, all while hiding the fact that she had a daughter who needed her. This was either the smartest or stupidest decision of her life. She'd find out tomorrow. The first day started with confusion. Halima arrived at 5:45, bags packed with enough clothes for a week. A housekeeper named Mrs. Choi showed her to a small room on the second floor, clean and simple with its own bathroom. Mr. Du wakes at 6, Mrs. Choi explained quickly. He'll expect coffee ready by 6:15, breakfast by 7. He has physical therapy at 8, business calls from 9 to noon. Lunch at 1, then he usually works in his office until evening. Dinner at 7. He doesn't like conversation during meals unless he initiates it. Does he always stick to this schedule? Always. He needs structure because of his rehabilitation. Any disruption affects his entire day. What does he need help with specifically? Mrs. Choi hesitated. He's very independent, even though the wheelchair limits him. He doesn't like being helped unless absolutely necessary. But you'll need to prepare his medications, manage his appointments, handle his correspondence, and assist during therapy sessions. The therapy sessions? What do I do there? You'll see. Just follow the therapist's instructions, and don't comment on his progress. He hates when people treat his recovery like entertainment. At exactly 6:15, Halima knocked on Hyunjae's bedroom door with his coffee. Come in. He was already dressed, sitting by the window with his tablet. He didn't look at her when she set the coffee on the table beside him. Sugar? She asked. No. The schedule says you have therapy at 8. Do you need anything prepared before then? Kang already sent my morning briefing. Check the email he forwarded to you, and summarize the important points. I don't have time to read everything. Halima pulled out her phone, found the email, and spent the next 10 minutes reading through what looked like 24 different messages about board meetings, quarterly reports, and something about a merger negotiation. The board meeting moved to next Tuesday, she said. Your uncle requested the change. The merger negotiation needs your signature on 3 documents by Friday, and someone named Director Park wants to schedule a private dinner to discuss the regional expansion. Hyunjae finally looked at her. What did you say about my uncle? He requested to move the board meeting to next Tuesday. That meeting was scheduled 2 months ago. Why the change? The email doesn't say. Just that he cited scheduling conflicts. Hyunjae's expression darkened. Get Kang on the phone, now. She dialed quickly, handed him the phone. The conversation was short and sharp. I don't care what excuse he gave. The meeting stays on the original date. If my uncle has conflicts, he can miss it. Hyunjae ended the call and handed back the phone. Anything else? Director Park's dinner request. Declined. Park works for my uncle. This is a fishing expedition, not a business dinner. Halima made notes on her phone. Should I send a polite decline or just refuse? You choose. Let's see if you understand basic strategy. It felt like a test. Halima thought for a moment. Polite decline, with an alternative suggestion. Maybe offer a morning coffee meeting at the office instead. Public, professional, time limited. Why? Because refusing completely makes you look weak or scared. Offering an alternative on your terms shows you're still in control. Hyunjae studied her for a long moment. Send it. The therapy session was harder to watch than Halima expected. The therapist, a man named Dr. Yoon, was professional and encouraging, but the exercises looked painful. Halima's face remained blank throughout, but she saw his hands grip the parallel bars until his knuckles turned white. "We're building strength in your lower back and hips," Dr. Yoon explained to Halima. "Eventually, he'll be able to stand with assistance and possibly walk short distances with equipment. But it's slow progress." "How slow?" "Months, maybe years. Every case is different." Hyunjae pulled himself along the bars, his legs barely responding. After 20 minutes, sweat dripped down his face. "That's enough for today," Dr. Yoon said gently. "We still have 10 minutes. You're exhausted. Pushing too hard will set back your progress. I said we have 10 minutes. Dr. Yoon looked at Halima helplessly. She stepped forward. "The schedule has your business calls starting in 30 minutes. If you finish therapy now, you have time to shower and prepare. If you keep going, you'll be on those calls exhausted and distracted. Your choice." Hyunjae's glare could have melted steel. "Don't presume to manage my decisions." "I'm not managing your decisions. I'm stating facts. You wanted an assistant who doesn't waste your time. I'm making sure you don't waste your own." The room went silent. Dr. Yoon looked like he wanted to disappear. Then Hyunjae released the bars and moved back to his wheelchair. "Fine, we're done." He wheeled past her without another word. Dr. Yoon exhaled slowly. "You're either very brave or very stupid." "Probably both," Halima muttered. By lunch, 3 small crises had erupted. First, a reporter somehow got Hyunjae's private phone number and called asking for comments about his health. Halima took the phone, politely informed the reporter that all media inquiries went through the company's communications department, and blocked the number. Second, a delivery arrived with legal documents that needed immediate signing, except the documents were completely wrong. Halima called the law firm, got transferred 4 times, and finally reached someone who admitted they'd sent the wrong file. She had the correct documents sent by courier, and made sure they arrived before the deadline. Third, Mrs. Choi got sick and went home, leaving nobody to prepare lunch. Halima found the kitchen, rummaged through the refrigerator, and made the simplest thing she could think of: rice, grilled chicken, and vegetables. She brought it to Hyunjae's office at exactly 1 o'clock. He stared at the plate. "Where's Mrs. Choi?" "Sick. She went home." "I didn't ask for you to cook." "You want to order delivery instead? That'll take 40 minutes minimum, which means you'll eat at almost 2. Your medication schedule says you need to take pills with food at 1:30, so late lunch means late medication, which disrupts your entire afternoon routine." Hyunjae picked up his fork, tasted the chicken. "It's bland." "You're on a therapeutic diet. Bland is the point. You're very opinionated for someone who's been here less than 8 hours. You hired me to assist you, not to agree with everything you say." He almost smiled. Almost. The others never talked back. Maybe that's why they quit. Pretending to be someone else gets exhausting. Hyunjae ate in silence for a moment. The reporter who called, "How did you handle it?" "Blocked the number after redirecting them to your communications team. They'll just call from a different number. Then I'll block that one too. You realize this won't stop. The media attention, the intrusion, the constant scrutiny. It gets worse, not better." Halima shrugged. "Every job has annoying parts. In my last job, I cleaned bathrooms at 4 in the morning. Blocking reporters seems easier." This time, he definitely almost smiled. The day ended at 9. Halima's feet hurt, her head ached, and she'd answered approximately 60 emails, 17 phone calls, rescheduled 4 appointments, and prevented 2 separate disasters involving angry executives and scheduling conflicts. She collapsed on her bed in the small room, exhausted. Her phone buzzed. A video call from Mrs. Park. Zuri's face filled the screen. "Mama, where are you?" "I'm at my new job, baby. Remember I told you I'd be staying somewhere else for a while? But I miss you." Halima's chest tightened. "I miss you too. So much. But this job means I can pay for your school, and we can get our own place soon. A better place. Will you come visit?" "Every week, I promise." After the call ended, Halima sat in the dark, letting herself feel the weight of the choice she'd made. Her daughter was growing up with a mother who was always working, always tired, always just trying to survive. But what else could she do? A soft knock on the door startled her. She opened it, to find Secretary Kang standing there with an envelope. "Your first week's advance," he said. "Mr. Du wanted you to have it tonight." She took the envelope, felt the weight of it. "Why?" He didn't say. "But between you and me, you lasted longer than the last 3 assistants combined. That's worth acknowledging." Kang nodded politely and left. Halima opened the envelope. Inside was enough money to pay Zuri's school fees, cover this month's rent at her old apartment, and buy groceries. She sat back down on the bed, staring at the money. Maybe she could actually do this. Maybe she could actually survive working for Du Hyunjae. Or maybe tomorrow everything would fall apart. Only one way to find out. 1 week turned into 2. 2 weeks turned into a month. The house staff stopped placing bets on when Halima would quit. Even Secretary Kang started including her in long-term planning discussions. "You're doing well," Mrs. Choi said one morning while they prepared breakfast together. "Mr. Du hasn't shouted in 3 days. That might be a record." Halima cracked eggs into a bowl. "He shouted at Director Kim yesterday, about the quarterly reports." "That's business shouting. I mean personal shouting. At staff, at his situation, at the universe for being unfair." Mrs. Choi lowered her voice. "He's different with you. Calmer somehow." "He's not calm. He's just busy." "No. It's more than that. You don't treat him like he's broken." Halima had never thought about it that way. She just treated Hyunjae like an employer who happened to use a wheelchair. She helped when he needed help, and stayed out of his way when he didn't. Apparently that was revolutionary. At breakfast, Hyunjae reviewed his schedule on his tablet while eating. "The board meeting is in 2 weeks. I need every financial report from the last quarter compiled and analyzed. Focus on the regional divisions. My uncle has been making noise about restructuring." "What kind of restructuring?" "The kind that removes me from leadership and installs him instead." Hyunjae set down his tablet. "He's been arguing that my condition makes me unfit to run the company. The board is listening because he's controlled the narrative for 6 months while I've been recovering. So we changed the narrative." "We?" Halima pulled out her phone with the notes she'd been keeping. "You've attended every board meeting remotely, approved every major decision, and the company stock is up 7% since you took over negotiations on the merger. Those are facts. We just need to present them clearly. The board doesn't care about facts, they care about perception. Then we fix the perception. You show up to the meeting in person, fully prepared, with documentation proving you've been actively leading despite recovery. You make them see competence, not disability." Hyunjae studied her. "You've been thinking about this. It's my job to think about your schedule and priorities. This meeting is both. The last time I appeared publicly, the media circus was unbearable. Reporters camping outside, photographers trying to get pictures, speculation about my health on every news channel. Let them speculate. You don't owe anyone an explanation about your personal recovery. You only need to prove you're leading the company effectively." For a long moment, Hyunjae said nothing. Then he nodded slowly. "Start compiling the reports. We'll prepare a presentation that makes my uncle's concerns look like what they are. A power grab disguised as concern." Halima made notes. "I'll need access to the financial database. I'll have Kang set up your clearance today." She stood to clear the breakfast dishes. As she reached for his plate, their hands brushed accidentally. Hyunjae pulled back quickly. So did she. A strange moment of awareness hung between them. Then Halima took the dishes and left the room, her heart beating slightly faster than normal. It meant nothing. Just an accidental touch. Nothing. The first sign of trouble came 3 days later. Halima was organizing Hyunjae's office, filing documents and updating his calendar, when she noticed something odd. A folder she'd specifically placed in the locked cabinet yesterday was sitting on the desk, partially open. She checked the contents. 3 pages were missing. "Mr. Du, did you take documents from the Kim Industries file?" He looked up from his laptop. "No. Why?" 3 pages are missing. I filed this folder yesterday afternoon in the locked cabinet. Now it's on your desk and incomplete." And Hyunjae wheeled over, examined the folder. His expression darkened. These were confidential negotiation terms. If those pages get leaked, the entire merger could collapse. Who else has access to your office? "Only you, Kang, and the cleaning staff. But the cleaning staff has been with my family for years. When was the last time anyone was in here besides us? Hyunjae thought for a moment. My uncle visited yesterday evening. He wanted to discuss the board meeting, but he wouldn't steal documents from my own office. Are you sure? The question hung heavy. Hyunjae's jaw tightened. Search the office. Check if anything else is missing. They spent an hour going through every file, every drawer, every document. Nothing else seemed disturbed. But those 3 pages were gone. I'll tell Kang to investigate quietly, Hyunjae said finally. Don't mention this to anyone else. You think it was your uncle? I think someone wants to sabotage the merger. Whether it's my uncle or someone else, I don't know yet. But this doesn't leave this room. Understood? Halima nodded. That night, lying in her small room, she couldn't shake the uneasy feeling. She'd been so careful with those files. The cabinet had been locked. She was certain of it. Which meant someone had a key. Someone who could walk into Hyunjae's private office and take whatever they wanted. The next morning, an email arrived in Halima's work inbox. The sender was anonymous. The subject line read, "Concerns about new staff." She opened it. The email contained a formal complaint alleging that Halima had been seen taking photographs of confidential documents with her personal phone. It suggested she might be leaking information to competitors. The accusation was completely false. Halima immediately forwarded it to Hyunjae and Kang. Kang arrived at the mansion within 20 minutes, his face grim. This was sent to 3 board members, the head of security, and the company's legal department. Who sent it? Hyunjae demanded. The email is routed through an anonymous server, untraceable. Someone is setting me up, Halima said quietly. First the missing documents, now this accusation. Hyunjae's eyes were cold with anger. Kang, I want a statement sent to everyone who received this email. Make it clear that Ms. Delamini has my complete trust, and any allegations against her are baseless and defamatory. Sir, perhaps we should investigate first, just to be thorough. No investigation needed. I know she didn't do this. Send the statement now. Kang hesitated, then nodded and left. Halima stood frozen. You're defending me without even questioning whether it's true? Did you photograph confidential documents? No. Then there's nothing to question. Someone is trying to force you out, just like they forced out the others. I'm not letting them win. Why would someone target your assistants? And Hyunjae turned his wheelchair toward the window. Because isolating me makes me look weak. If I can't even keep an assistant, how can I run a company? It feeds the narrative that I'm unfit for leadership. The realization settled over Halima like cold water. She wasn't just an assistant. She was a pawn in a much larger game. The other 12 who quit, she said slowly. It wasn't because of you at all, was it? Some quit because the job was genuinely difficult, but others, I suspect they were pushed out. I just couldn't prove it. Hyunjae looked at her. This job is more dangerous than you were told. If you want to leave, I'll understand. Halima thought about the advance payment sitting in her bank account, about Zuri's school fees paid in full for the semester, about the debt that was finally, slowly, becoming manageable. I'm not quitting over an anonymous email. It won't stop with an email. Whoever is doing this will escalate. Let them. I've dealt with worse than office politics. Hyunjae's expression shifted, something like respect crossing his features. You're either incredibly brave or incredibly stubborn. Probably both. This time, he actually smiled. Small, brief, but real. It changed his entire face. Halima looked away quickly, her pulse doing something strange. Professional, she reminded herself. This is professional. But that smile lingered in her mind, longer than it should have. The attacks continued, small and persistent. Someone told the media that Do Hyunjae's new assistant was a foreign woman with a suspicious background. Reporters started calling the mansion at all hours. Halima's work email was hacked, though nothing was actually stolen or changed. Rumors spread through the company staff that she was having an inappropriate relationship with Hyunjae. Each incident was minor on its own, but together, they created a constant pressure. Through it all, Hyunjae remained coldly furious. He issued statements, threatened legal action, and made it very clear that Halima had his full support. You don't have to keep defending me, she said one evening after another, exhausting day of damage control. Yes, I do. Why? I'm just an assistant. Hyunjae looked at her directly. You're the first person in 6 months who hasn't treated me like a charity case or a stepping stone. You do your job well. You speak honestly. And you haven't run away, despite every reason to leave. That's rare. I don't let rare things go without a fight. The words hit harder than they should. Halima busied herself organizing papers that didn't need organizing. The board meeting is in 10 days. We should focus on that. We should. But I need you to understand something. Working for me means you'll be targeted. People will try to intimidate you, bribe you, or destroy your reputation to get to me. It's not fair, but it's reality. I can handle it. Can you? Because it's going to get worse before it gets better. Halima met his eyes. I've raised a daughter alone in a foreign country, while working 3 jobs and barely sleeping. I've been looked down on, underestimated, and dismissed more times than I can count. Whatever your enemies throw at me, I guarantee I've survived worse. Hyunjae held her gaze for a long moment. I believe you. Something shifted in that moment. Something neither of them acknowledged but both felt. The distance between employer and employee was narrowing. If you're still watching, do me a favor. Think about a time when someone believed in you when everyone else doubted. Drop a comment and tell me about it. Your story might encourage someone else who needs it today. 2 days before the board meeting, Halima made a mistake. She was video calling with Zuri during her lunch break, sitting in her room with the door closed. But she'd been so focused on her daughter's excited chatter about a school art project that she didn't hear the knock on her door. Hyunjae opened it, clearly looking for her about something urgent, and saw Zuri's face on the phone screen. Halima's heart stopped. Mama, who's that? Zuri asked loudly. Hyunjae backed out immediately, closing the door. Halima ended the call with shaking hands, promising Zuri she'd call back later. Then she sat there, trying to figure out how to explain. She'd hidden her daughter's existence for over a month. Hyunjae would think she'd been dishonest, deceptive, untrustworthy. He could fire her. She forced herself to stand, smoothed her shirt, and went to find him. He was in his office, staring at his computer screen but clearly not reading anything. I can explain, she said from the doorway. You have a daughter? Yes. How old? 7. Hyunjae turned his wheelchair to face her. His expression was unreadable. You've been working here for 5 weeks and never mentioned this. I was afraid you'd fire me if you knew I had family responsibilities. Why would I fire you for having a child? Because the job requires long hours and complete availability. Because employers don't want to hire single mothers who might need time off for sick kids or school emergencies. Because I've been turned down for jobs before the moment they found out about Zuri. The words came out harsher than she intended. Hyunjae was quiet for a moment. Where is she while you're working here? Staying with a neighbor. I visit on weekends. That must be difficult. It's necessary. You shouldn't have to hide your child's existence to keep a job. In theory, no. In reality, yes. Halima crossed her arms. Are you firing me? No. She blinked. No? You've done excellent work. Your personal life is your business, as long as it doesn't interfere with your professional responsibilities. Having a daughter doesn't change your competence. Relief flooded through her so intensely she almost felt dizzy. Thank you. But I do have a question. Why take a live-in position if it means being separated from your daughter? Because the salary is enough to give her a better life, better school, better home, better opportunities. I can sacrifice a few months of daily time together if it means years of stability for her future. Hyunjae's expression softened almost imperceptibly. You're a good mother. The compliment caught her off guard. You don't know that. Yes, I do. Everything you've done since you started working here has been calculated to provide for her. Every decision, every choice. That's what good parents do. Halima looked away, throat tight. The board meeting is in 2 days. Should we review the presentation again? Hyunjae recognized the subject change for what it was, a retreat from vulnerability. He allowed it. Yes, let's review. But something had changed between them again. Another wall had come down. The board meeting happened on a cold Tuesday morning. Halima arrived at the company headquarters 2 hours early to set up. The conference room was enormous. designed to intimidate. A long table surrounded by leather chairs, screens on every wall, and windows overlooking the Seoul skyline. She tested the presentation equipment 3 times to make sure nothing would malfunction. Hyunjae arrived at exactly 9, dressed in a dark suit, his expression calm and controlled. Secretary Kang pushed his wheelchair, but Hyunjae immediately took over, wheeling himself to his position at the head of the table. Board members filed in, 12 men and 3 women, all watching Hyunjae with varying degrees of curiosity, pity, or calculation. His uncle, Do Jinjo, arrived last. He was older than Hyunjae, polished and confident. He smiled warmly at everyone, playing the role of concerned family member. "Hyunjae, good to see you looking well," he said smoothly. "Uncle, shall we begin?" The meeting started with standard reports, quarterly earnings, operational updates, routine business. Halima sat in the corner with a laptop, taking notes and pulling up requested documents when needed. Then Jinhyo cleared his throat. "Before we move to new business, I'd like to address a concern several board members have raised privately. Hyunjae, we're all sympathetic to your situation and proud of your recovery efforts, but the question remains whether it's wise for you to continue in active leadership during such a challenging time." Several board members shifted uncomfortably. Hyunjae's expression didn't change. "What are you proposing?" "A temporary leave of absence. 6 months, perhaps a year, to focus fully on your health. I would assume interim leadership, maintaining stability while you recover. No pressure, no stress, just time to heal." "How thoughtful." Hyunjae's voice was ice. "And after this leave of absence, would I return to leadership?" "Of course, if your health permits." "If." Interesting word choice. Jinjae spread his hands. "We must be realistic. Your condition may not improve sufficiently for the demands of this position. My condition has not affected my ability to lead this company. With respect, Hyunjae, you've been working from home, isolated, dependent on staff for basic assistance. The company needs a leader who can be present, active, visible." Hyunjae smiled coldly. "Ms. Delamani, please display slide 1. Halima pulled up the presentation. The screen filled with data. Attendance records showing Hyunjae had participated in every major decision for the past 6 months. Financial reports proving company growth under his leadership. Documentation of successful negotiations he'd personally conducted. Hyunjae spoke clearly, precisely, destroying every argument his uncle had raised. He presented evidence of his active involvement, his strategic decisions, his competent leadership. And then he did something nobody expected. He stood up. Not fully, not without aid, but he gripped the edge of the table and pulled himself to his feet, standing with visible effort, but undeniable determination. The room went completely silent. "I am recovering," Hyunjae said, his voice steady despite the strain. "My condition is improving, but even if it wasn't, even if I never walked another step, I am still the most qualified person to lead this company. My ability to walk has nothing to do with my ability to think, strategize, negotiate, or lead." He lowered himself back into his wheelchair, breathing hard but maintaining his composure. "Now, unless someone has a legitimate business concern, rather than thinly veiled attempts to exploit my disability for political gain, I suggest we move on." Nobody spoke. Jinho's face had gone red. "This is inappropriate." What's inappropriate is using a family tragedy as an opportunity for a power grab. Hyunjae looked at each board member. "I'm calling for a vote of confidence. If the board believes I'm unfit to lead, remove me now. If not, this discussion ends permanently." The vote was 11-4 in Hyunjae's favor. Jinjo stood abruptly. "This isn't over." "Yes, uncle, it is." After Jinjo stormed out, the meeting continued with normal business. But the atmosphere had shifted. Board members who'd been skeptical now looked at Hyunjae with respect. When the meeting finally ended, Hyunjae returned to his wheelchair and closed his eyes briefly, exhausted. Halima approached quietly. "That was risky." "Standing? I've been practicing in private for weeks. Today seemed like appropriate timing. You could have hurt yourself. But I didn't, and now they know I'm not giving up." He opened his eyes, looked at her. "Your presentation was perfect. Thank you. Just doing my job." "No, you did much more than that." On the drive back to the mansion, Hyunjae fell asleep in the car, the exhaustion finally catching up to him. Halima sat beside him, watching the city pass by outside the window. She'd worked for him for 6 weeks now. 6 weeks of constant crises, attacks, pressure, and chaos. But also 6 weeks of watching him fight for every small victory, refuse to surrender to limitations, and maintain his dignity against people who wanted to see him fail. She was starting to understand why people feared Do Hyunjae, not because he was cruel or ruthless, but because he was unbreakable. That night, Halima got permission to bring Zuri to the mansion for the weekend. "Are you sure?" she asked Hyunjae. "I can visit her at Mrs. Park's place instead. Bring her here. This house is too quiet anyway." So on Saturday morning, Halima waited at the front entrance, nervous in a way she couldn't explain. Mrs. Park's car pulled up. Zuri jumped out, eyes wide. "Mama, this house is huge!" Halima hugged her daughter tight, breathing in the familiar scent of her strawberry shampoo. "Hi, baby. Did you behave for Mrs. Park?" "I was perfect. Can I see inside?" They walked through the main entrance together, Zuri chattering non-stop about school and friends and a new book she was reading. Hyunjae was in the living room, working on his laptop. He looked up when they entered. Zuri stopped talking mid-sentence, staring. "Hello," Hyunjae said. "You're in a wheelchair," Zuri observed with the blunt honesty of children. "Zuri," Halima said sharply. But Hyunjae smiled slightly. "Yes, I am." "Why?" "I was in an accident. My legs don't work as well as they used to." "Does it hurt?" "Sometimes. My friend Minho broke his arm last year. He had a cast and everyone signed it." "Do people sign your wheelchair?" Hyunjae blinked, clearly not expecting that question. "No. You should let them. It would look cool." Halima covered her face with her hand. "I'm so sorry." But Hyunjae was actually smiling. "It's fine. What's your name?" "Zuri. I'm 7. How old are you?" 36. "That's really old." "Zuri." Halima wanted the floor to swallow her. Hyunjae laughed. Actually laughed. A real sound of genuine amusement. Halima stared. She'd never heard him laugh before. "You're right. That is really old," Hyunjae told Zuri. "Much older than 7. Can you do tricks in your wheelchair?" "What kind of tricks? Like spinning around fast or popping wheelies?" "I've never tried." "You should. That would be awesome." For the next hour, Zuri entertained herself exploring the garden, while Halima and Hyunjae worked on his schedule for the following week. But every few minutes, Zuri would run back inside with a new question or observation. "There's a fountain outside. Can I throw a coin in it? The flowers are so pretty. What are they called? I saw a cat. Can we keep it?" Hyunjae answered each question patiently, his usual cold demeanor completely absent. At lunch, Zuri insisted on sitting next to him, asking about his work, and telling him stories about her school. "Mama works really hard," Zuri said seriously. "She's always tired, but she never says so. You should let her rest more." "Zuri, that's not," Halima started. "She's right," Hyunjae interrupted. "You do work very hard. When was your last day off?" "I don't need. Everyone needs rest. Take tomorrow off. Spend it with Zuri. But your schedule can wait one day." "That's an order, not a suggestion." Halima wanted to argue, but Zuri was already cheering, throwing her arms around Halima's waist. "We can go to the park, and get ice cream, and read stories." Halima couldn't quite read. Later, after Zuri had fallen asleep on the couch during a movie, Halima carried her to the guest room and tucked her in. When she returned to the living room, Hyunjae was still there. "She's a lovely child," he said quietly. "She's exhausting. She's honest. Refreshing, actually." Halima sat down, suddenly tired. "Thank you for being patient with her. I know children aren't everyone's preference." "I don't mind. She treats me normally, like I'm just a person, not a condition or a headline. That's how I raised her. Everyone deserves basic respect, regardless of circumstances." Hyunjae looked at her thoughtfully. "You could have told me about her from the beginning. I wouldn't have judged you. I couldn't risk it. This job, it's the first time in years I've had real financial stability. I couldn't lose that." "You won't lose it. You have my word." The sincerity in his voice made her chest tight. "Why are you being so kind to us?" she asked quietly. Hyunjae was silent for a long moment. "Because kindness is rare. And you've both reminded me that life exists beyond board meetings and family politics. That's valuable." Their eyes met, held. Something unspoken passed between them, something neither was ready to name. Halima looked away first. "I should check on Zuri." "Of course." She stood quickly, escaping to the safety of distance. But as she lay in bed that night, listening to Zuri's soft breathing in the next room, Halima couldn't stop thinking about the way Hyunjae had smiled at her daughter. The way his entire face had transformed. The way her heart had responded. This was dangerous. She was falling for her employer, and she had no idea what to do about it. The photograph arrived on a Monday morning. Someone slid it under Halima's door while she slept. She found it when she woke up. A printed picture of Zuri walking home from school with Mrs. Park. Nothing threatening, just a picture. But the message was clear. "We know about your daughter. We know where she goes." Halima's hands shook as she stared at it. This wasn't about missing documents or anonymous emails anymore. This was about Zuri. She should have gone straight to Hyunjae. Instead, she grabbed her phone and called Mrs. Park. "Is Zuri okay?" "She's fine, still sleeping." "Halima, what's wrong?" "Someone took a picture of her. I need you to be extra careful. Watch her closely. Don't let her walk anywhere alone." "Should we call the police?" "I don't know. Just, please, keep her safe." After hanging up, Halima sat on her bed, trying to breathe normally. Someone was threatening her child. The job, the money, none of it mattered compared to Zuri's safety. She should quit. Right now. Pack her things and leave before this got worse. But quitting meant no salary, no way to pay the bills that were finally getting manageable. It meant going back to 3 jobs and barely surviving. And it meant whoever was doing this would win. A knock on her door made her jump. "Ms. Dlamini, Mr. Du wants to see you in his office," Mrs. Choi called. Halima hid the photograph in her drawer and tried to compose herself. In his office, Hyunjae was reading something on his tablet, frowning. He looked up when she entered. "We have a problem. Someone leaked details about the merger to the press. Confidential information that should have been secure. The missing pages from last month? Probably. The timing matches." He set down the tablet. "This is going to cause significant complications. The other company is threatening to back out. Can you salvage it?" "Maybe. But I need to know who's leaking information and why." His eyes narrowed. "Are you all right? You look pale." "I'm fine." "You're lying." Halima hesitated. She didn't want to burden him with her problems, but the photograph felt like a weight she couldn't carry alone. "Someone took a picture of my daughter. It was slid under my door this morning." Hyunjae's expression went cold. "Show me." She retrieved the photograph, handed it to him. He studied it, his jaw tight. "This is a threat." "I know." "When was this taken?" "Last week, based on the clothes she's wearing." "So someone has been following your daughter for at least a week, possibly longer." Hyunjae pulled out his phone, called someone. "Kang, I need private security assigned to Miss Dlamini's daughter immediately." "Yes, now. I don't care what it costs." "Wait, you don't have to," Halima started. Hyunjae held up a hand. "Non-negotiable. If someone is threatening your child to get to me, then protecting her is my responsibility. This isn't your fault." "It absolutely is. You're being targeted because you work for me. That makes it my fault." He ended the call. "Kang will arrange security within the hour. Your daughter will be protected." Halima's throat felt tight. "Thank you. Don't thank me. This shouldn't be happening at all." Hyunjae's expression was furious, but not at her. Whoever is doing this has crossed a line. Threatening an employee is one thing. Threatening a child is unforgivable. Should I quit? Maybe if I leave, they'll stop. No. If you quit, they win. And then they'll do the same thing to the next person I hire. This ends now. How? I'm going to find whoever is behind this and destroy them. The certainty in his voice should have scared her. Instead, it made her feel safe. Over the next week, strange things kept happening. Halima's work computer crashed, losing 2 days of data that had to be reconstructed from backups. A fake social media account appeared, posting lies about her relationship with Hyunjae. complete with photoshopped pictures. Someone called Zuri's school, pretending to be Halima, and tried to pick up her daughter early. Thank God the school had strict protocols and refused. Each incident made Halima more determined not to quit. Each incident made Halima more coldly furious. He hired investigators, installed additional security cameras, and started tracking everyone who entered or left the mansion, but they still didn't know who was behind it. Meanwhile, something else was growing between them. It started small. Hyunjae, asking about Zuri's week during their morning briefings. Halima, noticing when he was in pain, and quietly adjusting his schedule to allow rest. Conversations that stretched beyond work topics. One evening, she found him in the therapy room, frustrated after a difficult session. "It's not improving fast enough," he said, gripping the parallel bars. 3 months of constant work, and I can barely stand for 5 minutes. 3 months ago, you couldn't stand at all. That's not enough. Why? Who decided there's a timeline for recovery? Everyone. The board, the media, my family. They all expect me to either fully recover or step aside. Halima sat down on the nearby bench. "What do you expect?" He looked at her, surprised. "What? What do you want from your recovery? Not what everyone else wants. What do you want?" Hyunjae was quiet for a long moment. "I want to walk across a room without equipment. I want to stand during a presentation without worrying I'll fall. I want to feel like myself again. And if that takes a year or 2 years, or if walking across a room is the maximum you achieve, then I've failed. No, then you've adapted. There's a difference. You make it sound simple. It's not simple. It's hard and frustrating and unfair, but it's also reality. You can spend your energy fighting against limitations, or you can spend it working within them. Both are exhausting, but only one actually moves you forward." Hyunjae studied her. "When did you become so wise?" "When I had to raise a daughter alone in a country where I barely spoke the language. You learn to adapt, or you drown. You never talk about Zuri's father." The shift in subject caught her off guard. "There's nothing to talk about. He left when I told him I was pregnant. I haven't heard from him since. His loss." The words were simple, but the sincerity behind them made her chest ache. "You're good with Zuri," she said, changing the subject. "Patient, kind. You'd make a good father." Something crossed Hyunjae's face, too quick to read. "I've never thought about having children. Why not? My family isn't exactly a model of healthy relationships. My parents' marriage was a business arrangement. My uncle sees me as an obstacle to remove. I wouldn't want to bring a child into that world. So create a different world. You're not your family, Hyunjae. You're your own person." It was the first time she'd used his name without the formal title. He noticed. "You called me Hyunjae. Sorry, I meant Mr. Du." "Don't. I like hearing you say my name." Their eyes met. The air between them felt charged. Halima stood quickly. "I should let you rest. Tomorrow's schedule is busy." She left before he could respond, her heart pounding. This was getting complicated. The turning point came on a rainy Thursday. Halima was organizing Hyunjae's files when she found something hidden in the back of a drawer. A folder marked Private Investigation with her name on it. Her stomach dropped. She opened it. Inside were detailed reports about her background, her work history, her financial situation, even information about Zuri's father. Private investigators had been tracking her life, compiling information, and the reports were dated from weeks ago. Weeks that Hyunjae had known about the threats and said nothing. Weeks he'd been investigating her while pretending to trust her. Betrayal hit like a physical blow. She took the folder straight to his office. He was on a video call, but she didn't care. "We need to talk, now." Hyunjae looked at her face, ended the call immediately. "What's wrong?" She threw the folder on his desk. "You've been investigating me." His expression didn't change. "Yes, for weeks, while telling me you trusted me. I do trust you. Then why investigate my entire life? Why dig into my past, my finances, my daughter's father? What exactly were you looking for?" "I was trying to protect you. By invading my privacy, by treating me like a suspect." Hyunjae's jaw tightened. "Someone is targeting you because of me." I needed to know if there was anything in your background that could be used against you. I was trying to stay ahead of whoever is doing this. You could have asked me. Would you have told me everything? Would you have volunteered information about your struggles, your debts, your past? That's not the point. The point is you went behind my back. You pretended we were building trust while secretly investigating me like I was a criminal. I never thought you were a criminal. I was trying to help. I don't need that kind of help. I need honesty. I need someone who actually trusts me, instead of just saying they do. Hyunjae stood from his wheelchair, gripping his desk for support. You want to talk about honesty? You hid your daughter for weeks. You never mentioned your financial situation, your 3 jobs, the debt you were drowning in. You kept secrets too, Halima. I kept secrets to protect myself. You kept secrets while having all the power in this relationship. This isn't a relationship. You're my employee. The words hung in the air like a slap. Halima felt something crack inside her chest. You're right, she said quietly. I'm just an employee, and employees can resign. She turned to leave. Wait. I'll finish out the week. That gives you time to find someone else. I don't want someone else. Well, you don't have a choice. I'm done. She walked out, ignoring him calling her name. In her room, she started packing with shaking hands. She'd been stupid. Stupid to think this job was different. Stupid to start caring about him. Stupid to believe she mattered as anything more than convenient help. A knock on her door.
Go away,
She called.
it's me.
Mrs. Choi's voice. Can I come in? Halima opened the door. Mrs. Choi took in the half-packed bags. You're really leaving. I have to. Because he investigated you, or because your feelings got involved? The question was so direct that Halima couldn't answer. Mrs. Choi sighed. He's not good at emotions, that one. Never has been. He shows care through action, through protection, through solving problems. The investigation wasn't about distrust. It was about keeping you safe the only way he knows how. That doesn't make it right. No, it doesn't. But maybe it makes it understandable. Mrs. Choi touched her shoulder gently. You're the first person he's smiled at in years, Halima. The first person he's let close. Don't throw that away, because he's terrible at expressing it properly. I can't work for someone who doesn't trust me. He does trust you. He just doesn't trust the world not to hurt you. There's a difference. After Mrs. Choi left, Halima sat among her packed bags, crying. Because Mrs. Choi was right. Her feelings had gotten involved. She'd fallen for Do Hyunjae, and that made everything so much worse. The next morning, Halima went to Hyunjae's office to discuss transition plans. He looked like he hadn't slept. I've contacted the agency, she said formally. They're sending candidates for interviews next week. I don't want to interview candidates. You need an assistant. I need you. You need someone you trust. I trust you, Halima, completely. Then why the investigation? Hyunjae ran a hand through his hair, frustrated. Because everyone I've ever trusted has either left or betrayed me. My parents used me as a business asset. My uncle wants me removed. The woman I almost married left 3 weeks after my accident, because she didn't want to be tied to someone in a wheelchair. Trust is complicated for me. The admission hung between them. So when you started working here, he continued, and you were competent and honest and you didn't quit, I didn't know how to handle that. The investigation wasn't about doubting you. It was about understanding why you were different, why you stayed when everyone else left. You could have just asked me. I know. I'm not good at vulnerability. Neither am I, Halima admitted quietly. I didn't tell you about Zuri because I was afraid. I didn't talk about my struggles because I thought showing weakness meant losing everything. We're both terrible at trust. Terrible together? Despite everything, she almost smiled. The worst. So stay. Let's be terrible at trust together instead of separately. Hi, Hyunjae. I'm not asking as your employer. I'm asking as someone who's gotten used to seeing you every morning and doesn't want that to stop. Her heart did something complicated. Before she could respond, Secretary Kang burst in without knocking. Sir, we found him, the person behind the sabotage. Everything else was forgotten. In the mansion's secure office, Kang pulled up evidence on multiple screens. It's Director Park, he said. We traced the anonymous emails, the leaked documents, everything back to him. He's been working with your uncle to undermine your position. Chunjae's expression went cold. Show me everything. The evidence was damning. Park had orchestrated all 12 previous assistants' departures. He'd stolen the merger documents, sent the threatening emails, even hired someone to photograph Zuri. All to isolate Hyunjae and make him appear incapable of leadership. Why? Halima asked. What does Park gain? My uncle promised him the CFO position once he takes over, Hyunjae said, studying the files. This was never personal, just business. Threatening a child is personal. To us, yes. To them, it's just strategy. Hyunjae's voice was ice. Kang, compile everything. I want legal ready to file charges. And schedule an emergency board meeting for tomorrow. Sir, shouldn't we consult with the family lawyers first? No lawyers, no delays, tomorrow. After Kang left, Hyunjae turned to Halima. I need your help. With what? You kept detailed records of everything that happened. Your emails, schedules, notes about every incident. That documentation is crucial evidence. You want me to testify? I want you to show the board exactly what Park and my uncle did. Not as my assistant, but as the person who witnessed everything and documented it meticulously. They'll tear me apart. I won't let them. Halima thought about the photograph of Zuri, the sleepless nights, the constant fear. Let's destroy them. Halima just smiled. That's my girl. The words sent warmth through her chest. Maybe she hadn't quit after all. The emergency board meeting was packed. Every board member attended, along with lawyers, executives, and financial advisors. The tension was thick enough to cut. Hyunjae sat at the head of the table, calm and controlled. Halima sat beside him with her laptop, ready. Director Park and Do Jinhyo sat across from them, confident. They had no idea what was coming. Hyunjae opened the meeting. Thank you all for attending on short notice. We're here to address a serious issue. Corporate sabotage. Jinhyo frowned. Hyunjae, what are you talking about? I'm talking about a systematic campaign to undermine my leadership by targeting my personal staff. 12 assistants in 6 months, all driven away by threats, harassment, and intimidation. Hyunjae nodded to Halima. Ms. Dlamini, please present the evidence. Halima pulled up her documentation. Emails, phone records, security footage, financial transactions. Every piece of evidence carefully compiled and presented. She walked the board through each incident, showing how they connected to Director Park, and traced back to Jinho's attempt to seize control. Park's face went pale. Jinho tried to interrupt. This is absurd. You can't possibly believe. There's more, Hyunjae said coldly. Miss Dlamini, show them the photograph. She displayed the picture of Zuri. Director Park hired someone to surveil and photograph my assistant's 7-year-old daughter. A child. This wasn't business strategy. This was targeting a child to intimidate an employee. The room erupted. Board members shouted questions, demanded explanations. Park started making excuses, but they sounded hollow. Jinjo maintained his composure. Even if Park acted inappropriately, that doesn't implicate me. Really? Hyunjae pulled up financial records. Because these payments from your personal accounts to Park's offshore holdings suggest otherwise. You funded the entire operation, Uncle. The evidence was irrefutable. After 3 hours of testimony, arguments, and legal consultation, the board voted. Director Park was terminated immediately and faced criminal charges. Do Jinjo was removed from the board and all company positions. Hyunjae's leadership was unanimously confirmed. When it was over, Jinjo approached them one last time. You've won this round, Hyunjae, but family is forever. This isn't finished. Yes, Uncle, it is. You threatened an innocent child to gain power. You're not family anymore. You're just someone I used to know. Jinho left without another word. Director Park was escorted out by security. And just like that, it was over. In the car back to the mansion, Halima felt exhausted relief wash over her. We did it, she said. You did it. Your documentation made the case. I just presented it. We make a good team. Halima felt exhausted relief. Halima felt the best. Something passed between them again. That same charged awareness. About what I said earlier, Hyunjae started. Asking you to stay. I meant it. But not just as an assistant. Halima's heart stuttered. What do you mean? I mean, I've gotten used to you. Your honesty, your strength, the way you challenge me, the way you look at me like I'm just a person instead of a condition or a headline. He paused. I'm falling for you, Halima. Probably have been for weeks. I just didn't know how to say it. She couldn't breathe. Tanjay. You don't have to respond now. I know it's complicated. Employer and employee, different backgrounds, my situation. I just needed you to know. Before she could think better of it, Halima reached over and took his hand. It's not one-sided, she said quietly. I've been falling too. I didn't want to admit it because it scared me. You scare me. Why? Because caring about you means risking being hurt, and I've spent years protecting myself and Zuri from that risk. I can't promise I won't hurt you. I'm not good at relationships or emotions, but I can promise I'll try. Every day, I'll try. Their eyes met, held, and then Hyunjae leaned forward slowly, giving her time to pull away. She didn't. The kiss was soft, gentle, and perfect. When they pulled apart, both were smiling. So, Hyunjae said, does this mean you're not quitting? I'm definitely not quitting. Good. Because I'm promoting you to chief executive assistant with a substantial raise. You can't give me a raise just because we kissed. I can absolutely give you a raise because you just helped me save my company. The kiss is just a bonus. Halima laughed, real and genuine. For the first time in years, she felt hopeful about the future. 1 year later, Halima stood in the mansion's garden, watching Zuri chase butterflies between the flowers. The garden had become her daughter's favorite place, full of hiding spots and adventures. Mama, look, Zuri called, pointing to a particularly large butterfly. I see it, baby. It's beautiful. Hyunjae wheeled up beside her, smiling. He could walk short distances now, with the help of braces and a cane, but the wheelchair was still part of his daily life. He'd stopped seeing it as a limitation and started seeing it as just another tool. She's grown so much, he said. Too much. She'll be 8 next month. I know. I've been planning her birthday party. Halima looked at him. You've been what? Planning her birthday party. I thought we could do something special. Invite her school friends, maybe rent that entertainment place she likes. Hyunjae, you don't have to. I want to. She's important to me. You're both important to me. The words still made her heart flutter. Over the past year, their relationship had deepened into something solid and real. They'd navigated the complications of their professional relationship by establishing clear boundaries. At work, she was his chief executive assistant. At home, they were partners. It wasn't always easy, but it worked. Zuri had adapted beautifully. She split her time between the mansion and visits with Mrs. Park, who'd become like a grandmother to her. She adored Hyunjae, constantly asking him questions and showing him her school projects. I need to ask you something, Hyunjae said suddenly. What? Come with me. He wheeled toward the fountain in the center of the garden. Zuri was already there, grinning like she knew a secret. What's going on? Halima asked suspiciously. Hyunjae stopped beside Zuri. Then, carefully, using his cane for support, he stood up. Halima's breath caught. Zuri, Hyunjae said, I need to ask you an important question. Okay? Zuri bounced excitedly. I love your mother very much, and I love you very much. I want us to be a real family, all living together, taking care of each other. But before I ask your mother to marry me, I need your permission. Is it okay with you if I marry your mama? Zuri pretended to think very seriously. Will you still help me with my math homework? Always. And can we still have movie nights? Every Friday. And will you teach me how to do wheelies in your wheelchair like I asked? Hyunjae laughed. When you're older, yes. Zuri threw her arms around him. Then yes, you can marry Mama. Hyunjae hugged her back, then looked at Halima with questioning eyes. She was crying, happy tears streaming down her face. You haven't actually asked me yet, she managed to say. Hyunjae handed Zuri his cane and carefully lowered himself onto one knee. His balance was shaky, but he managed it. Halima Dlamini, you came into my life when I was at my lowest. You refused to quit, refused to pity me, and refused to let me give up on myself. You've become my partner, my best friend, and the person I trust most in this world. Will you marry me?" "Yes," she said immediately. "Yes, of course, yes." He pulled out a ring, slipped it on her finger. Zuri cheered. "I knew it. I knew you were staying forever. You just took a really long time to say it." Both Hyunjae and Halima laughed. He stood with Halima's help, and she kissed him softly, while Zuri made exaggerated gagging sounds. "Does this mean we're a family now?" Zuri asked. "We've been a family for a while," Hyunjae said. "Now it's just official." That evening, they had dinner together in the garden as the sun set. Zuri talked non-stop about the wedding, already planning every detail despite being told it would be a small ceremony. Hyunjae and Halima exchanged amused glances over her head. "You know she's going to drive us crazy with wedding planning," Halima whispered. "I'm counting on it," Hyunjae whispered back. Later, after Zuri had fallen asleep on the couch, Halima and Hyunjae sat together watching the stars. "I never thought I'd have this," Halima said quietly. "A real home, a real family, someone who loves me and my daughter. I never thought I'd want it," Hyunjae admitted. "I thought I'd spend my life alone, focused on work, never letting anyone close. Then you showed up and refused to leave. Best decision I ever made. Staying or falling in love with me. Both." He kissed her temple. "I'm going to spend the rest of my life making sure you never regret either decision. That's a big promise." "I'm good at keeping promises." Halima leaned against him, feeling safe and loved and hopeful about their future. She'd come to Seoul years ago with nothing but a scholarship and determination. She'd struggled, survived, and fought for every small victory. And now she had everything she never knew she needed. A man who saw her strength and loved her for it. A daughter who was growing up knowing she was cherished. A family built not on blood or obligation, but on choice and love. The assistant job that nobody could last a day doing had become the beginning of her forever, and she wasn't quitting. Not now, not ever. If this story touched your heart, I'd love to hear about it. Have you ever found love in an unexpected place? Share your story in the comments below, and if you enjoyed this journey with Halima and Hyunjae, please subscribe to the channel for more heartwarming stories like this one. Thank you for watching, and remember, sometimes the best things in life come from refusing to give up.